Okay, so good morning, everybody. This is Dr. David. The topic for today is about science, technology, and nation building. At this point, let me now share my screen first. I hope you can appreciate my screen. Okay, so again, the topic is about science, technology, and nation building. Now, see, science and technology in the Philippines represents a is so-called a wide scientific advances. Uh, and as we go through the lecture process, we'll try to see the some historical events that eventually brought all the science and technology development in the country. Now, take note that the main managing agency responsible for the so-called development of science and technology in the country would be the Department of Science and Technology, the DOST. Now, there are other departments that would be considered a consulting agency of the DOST, like the Forestry Department, the Agriculture, Aquaculture, the Metal Industry Department, Nuclear Research, Health Department for that matter, for the Nutrition Council, the Meteorological and the Volcanology and Seismology Department of the country. Now, just to mention some men of science that made the notable contributions to the so-called science and technology development in the country would be Fed Del Mundo in the field of, she's a pediatrician by profession, Eduardo Quisumbing in plant taxonomy, Gavin Trono in terms of marine mycology, and also Maria Orosa in terms of the food technology. In fact, Maria Orosa was the first to develop the so-called banana ketchup. Okay, now, see, again, as we mentioned earlier, the main managing department or institution in terms of science and technology would be your so-called DOST. So this one. Okay, so to start with, let's try to look at the history of science and technology and nation building. Take note that in terms of history, the so-called science and technology development in the country started way back, even through before the Spanish came here, and it developed up to the so-called the American time, the American colonizers. So even before the Spanish reached the country, Filipinos were already engaged in activities related to science, science and technology, like the weaving industry in textile, the first the so-called the weaving industry, and they were able. They also there are informations or data that would say that the early Filipinos then were also engaged in the extraction of medicine from herbs. They do have an alphabet, a system of writing and counting of weights and measure. Though they do not have a so-called a clear calendar system, but they try to count years by the period of the so by so-called trying to count from one harvest to the other. Take note, during that time, harvest season will just be seasonal. And the most famous of them all would be the the so-called Banawe rice terraces. It's a sophisticated product of engineering that existed way back before the the Spanish colonizers came uh, to the country. Okay, now during the Spanish period, the Spanish colonial period, such period contributed in the so-called growth of science and technology. In fact, the Spaniards introduced the formal education, and they started the so-called scientific institution. The Spaniards then set up parish schools where religion, reading, writing, arithmetic, music were taught. Sanitation, and even in terms of methods in agriculture, they were also taught to the so-called natives of the country. So, the Spaniards started the colleges and universities in the country, and one of the most notable university that existed during the Spanish colonial period would be the University of Santo Tomas. So, also during that time, the study of medicine was given priority, especially during the last few years of the Spanish colonial period. They, aside from this medicine, they also the colonial period also contributed in the field of engineering, the way they have constructed government buildings, churches, roads, and even the forts. You will see that if you try to go to Intramuros, Manila. To go there, you will notice that there would be some technological advancement in the field of engineering, even in the construction of buildings. Now, also noteworthy it is notable to, it is important to note that biology during the Spanish colonial period in terms of education was given focus. So, these are some schools that were developed during the Spanish colonial period. The Colegio de San Ildefonso in Cebu, way back late 1500. The Colegio de San Ignacio in Manila, Colegio de Nuestra Señora del Rosario, also in Manila, and Colegio de San Jose, also in Manila. Most of these will be in Manila. Okay, so there was also the so-called development of hospitals. The San Lazaro Hospital is the oldest in the Far East Asia. It was instituted in 1578. Si San Lazaro Hospital today is the hospital specializing for most infectious diseases. So, if you remember during the first part of the COVID pandemic, it was San Lazaro that would be filled up with all these patients with COVID, because this one is a specialty hospital really on infectious diseases. Now, another would be the Real Sociedad Económica de los Amigos del País de Filipinas. This was founded by Governor Jose Basco y Vargas at 1780. And this Real Sociedad Económica de los Amigos del País de Filipinas encouraged research in agriculture and industry. In fact, this institution encouraged, or the society encouraged the cultivation of cotton, cinnamon, and even the silk industry. Okay. So, in 1871, 1871, the School of Medicine and Pharmacy started at the University of Santo Tomas. After about 15 years of such, uh, the UST started to grant the degree of Licenciado en Medicina for some 62 graduates. At the same time, they also the UST was able to grant licentiate degree equivalent to a master's degree uh, for your bachelor's degree in pharmacy. And again, one of its notable student would be Leon Maria Guerrero, who is considered the father of Philippine pharmacy. Why? Because Leon Maria Guerrero tried patiently and worked with all the he was known for his work on the medicinal plant of the Philippines. Okay, so during that Spanish colonial period, uh, the so-called commerce and trade, there is an increased development of commerce and trade in Manila. Uh, and see modern amenities like the tramways, even the waterworks, even newspaper, electric lights, banking system, uh, were all introduced during the 19th century in Manila. Now, the Jesuits, they were the first to introduce or to promote your so-called meteorological studies. And they started the Manila Observatory at the Ateneo de Manila. Then this Ateneo de Manila is there in Padre Faura in Taft in Manila as early as the 1865. Now, the very famous galleon trade, or they term it as a Galleon de Manila, and known to Spain as the so-called Lanao de China, or the China ship. Why? Because the voyages from the East Indies carried most Chinese goods, and they are shipped from Manila. Eventually, so this galleon trade is the so-called at least a proof that this eventually would you can trace back your so-called globalization during this Manila galleon or the galleon trade, because they represent the so-called the trade route from Asia that eventually crossed Americas, thereby connecting the rest of the world's continents in the so-called global trade. And see, most of this galleon trade, most of the goods came from Mexico, and eventually will be there is a stop over here in Manila, and again back to Mexico. Okay. So much for the Spanish colonial period. Now we go to the American period, and even the post-Commonwealth period, or the most post-Commonwealth era. It was as early as the so-called 1901, wherein the Philippine Commission established the Bureau of Government Laboratories. They are the one responsible for taking care of all these laboratory workups for the government. So most of the hospital will send all their laboratory workup or things for processing in the laboratory in that so-called Bureau of Government Laboratories. And during that 1901, it was placed under the Department of Interior. Now, eventually, that bureau uh, of government laboratory. So this Bureau of Government Laboratory replaced the so-called Laboratorio Municipal as instituted by the Spaniards then. So this Bureau of Government Laboratories, they dealt with most of the tropical diseases and all the laboratory projects of the country during the American time. So, but eventually, after 4 years, this Bureau of Government Laboratories was replaced by Bureau of Science. Okay, now, uh, from that year, then came 1933, the Bureau of Science under the so-called National Research Council of the Philippines. The Bureau of Science became the primary research center of the Philippines until the so-called the World War II. Take note, many things happened during the break of the war. So this Bureau of Science has been replaced by Institute of Science after the war, during the liberation, the 1946. Now, science during the American period, during the American time, was inclined towards agriculture, food processing, forestry, medicine, and pharmacy. Now, take note that World War II destabilized the development of the country. And many institutions and even public facilities were burned. So much, many lives were compromised and destroyed, meaning killed during that time. So, going through 1969, so after all these Americans and everything, so then we eventually earned our independence. So, as early as the 1969, there was this order from the government that all medical, those who graduate, graduates of medicine, before, so once they graduate, before they can be given the so-called certificate or their diploma of graduation, they have to do a tour of duty in provincial hospital. That is really to the main idea during that time is to arouse their social consciousness and to reduce the brain drain. Now, see, during that time, during that early part of during the 1969, most of the medical graduates, their intention is to study here and eventually to go abroad, maybe for further study, but eventually really to practice in that area. Now, the government noticed that quite a number of these graduates would have the thinking, so they have to do something in order to arouse social consciousness among the medical graduates, and eventually they prevent brain drain in the country. At the same time, during that time also, the government conducted some seminars for public and private high school and even college, for in order to enhance the knowledge on fisheries and oceanography. So also during the time, remember, the Philippine Coconut Research Institute was established. Even the Philippine Textile Research Institute was also established. And even the Philippine Atomic Energy Commission was also established. Now, came 1972. Remember, 1972 is the proclamation of martial law. Now, what is at least noteworthy in terms of during this time, the National Grains Authority was instituted, and this National Grains Authority, they are there to provide uh, or to enhance the so-called development in the rice and the corn industry of the country. So also during that time, the Philippine Council for Agricultural Research was established. This would have the goal of this Philippine Council for Agricultural Research would be to support the progressive development of agriculture, forestry, fishery of the country. Now, another institution during that martial time would be they started the so-called PAG-ASA, the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration. This PAG-ASA, the main work of the PAG-ASA would be to provide environmental protection and to utilize such scientific knowledge to ensure safety of the people. So PAG-ASA then it's really for environmental protection. Plus the fact that part of the environmental protection is really be able to go for weather forecasting. So at this now, it's not just about weather forecasting, environmental protection. They are also the one who made the so-called the so-called geohazard map. They were tasked to make the geohazard map, and all the rest of the local governments were given such copy so that they would know whether if their area would be part of the geohazard map. So, or if they have such area within their so-called area of responsibility, then they have to address it in order to protect and to ensure the safety of the people. Okay. Then came 1988. 1988, the so-called Presidential Task Force for Science and Technology produced the so-called, they came up with the STMP, the Science and Technology Master Plan, wherein the goal of the Science Technology Master Plan is to achieve a so-called industrialized country status, industrialized country status for the Philippines by year 2000. Whether we have reached that, it's still in the process. But yes, indeed, the country is now an industrialized, would have the so-called industrialized status. Then 1993, 1993, the healthcare services started the so-called Doctors to the Barrio program. This Doctors to the Barrio program is spearheaded by the former DOH Secretary Juan Flavier, who eventually became a senator. The purpose of this Doctors to the Barrio program, which up to this point in time we have such Doctors to the Barrio program, it was intended to supply doctors to the so-called doctor-less municipalities. During that time, there is about 200 doctor-less municipalities. But now, yes, we still have some areas without a doctor, or like in areas of the so-called the Cordilleras, we still have more. Even in the far-flung area, rural areas, there are really doctor-less municipalities. Okay. Then, 1999, there is the so-called the Philippine Clean Air Act. or also known as the Republic Act number 8749, which eventually they are design or the goal of which of the Philippine Clean Air Act is to protect and preserve the environment and to ensure your so-called sustainable development of its natural resources. See, the Clean Air Act would be they start eventually saying that, okay, the use of automobile um, in order, so it was uh, they started, see if you're driving your car, or if you have a car, or yeah, you can always ask your parents that before they register the car, uh, and remember, you register your car just like you go for your license every year. Every year you register your car, and before you register such in the Land Transportation Office, it has to undergo emission testing. uh, and you have to what to reach or to pass that emission testing that you are not emitting harmful gases in order to protect the air. In fact, part of that Clean Air Act is really to reduce all these harmful gas emissions uh, by factories or even burning process. So now if you go to the sa uh, maybe to the rice fields after the harvest, most of the practice would be after harvesting the rice hull, they just let it dry and they burn it. Now they cannot do that. Why? Because of the Clean Air Act. Because if you burn such, that will eventually emit your so-called greenhouse gases, and that would add in the so-called climate change. Now, then another would be the Electronic Commerce Act of uh, year 2000, or the Republic Act number 8792. This electronic, the e-commerce act outlaws computer hacking and provides opportunity for new business emerging from the so-called internet-driven economy. See, outlaws computer hacking. So as early as year 2000, we do have that e-commerce, the electronic commerce out. But remember, it's a law, but in reality, up to this point in time, it's already 24 years after. We still have all this hacking. You recently, there are some government agency that has been hacked, and it is very hard to really uh, apprehend all those hackers because you can only do that if you have up-to-date and sophisticated computers in order to trace. Otherwise, if your computer is out of date, then or outdated, definitely, it will be very hard to apprehend all these hackers. Okay, so what are the areas or the so-called the field of studies or even expertise wherein the so-called science and technology uh, would have their emphasis? So one would be the use of alternative and safe energy. So the Department of Science and Technology would really support all those men of science who are into alternative and safe energy. See, many of our scientists now is really going for the solar power, and they're trying to to develop that solar power. So another would be harnessing mineral resources, finding cure for various diseases and illness. In fact, there are in the field of research, many Filipinos would be part of the so-called uh, uh, see, trying to come up with some of the Filipinos during the pandemic, they are part of a very big study in order to come up with a effective vaccine for COVID, uh, for COVID-19. So another area would be the climate change and global warming, increasing food production, preservation of natural resources, and even see the climate change, global warming. There has been many studies about all these things, and many of our Filipino scientists would be part of this. Coping up with natural disasters and calamities, and your so-called infrastructure project. In the infrastructure project, there are many engineers who would come up with all these materials, building materials. One of which would be the Vasquez company. They are into the so-called parang Lego type of building. So they have a prefabricated ready panel that can be installed or can be built, and see, you can build a certain house or maybe a place in 1 to 2 weeks time, but definitely you'll be using a prefabricated panel. So they have to use all this heavy equipment in order to come up. So it's the so-called the Lego construction. Parang it's just like your Lego, the Lego toy that you're using. Okay, so infrastructure development. And yeah, okay. So here you will see in this slide that the rest of the policies, programs, and projects. So here, these policies, programs, and projects of science and technology in the country, they are all following all these four things: the national goals of the country, or the goals of the country. They also have to consider the so-called the international commitment or the international treaty wherein the country entered into, based on all these legal frameworks, and also to address social needs, issues, and problems of the country. So this science and technology development should serve, or should help science and the so-called social needs, issues, and problems of the country. Okay, so that's about the science and technology department, and even the so-called the Philippine agenda in terms of the science and technology and nation building. Now, we just have to mention some famous Filipinos in the field of science. One of which would be Ramon Barba. Ramon Barba is known for his research in tissue culture in so-called Philippine mangoes. Do you know that we are exporting mangoes? We are a country that export mangoes, and it's only the mangoes from Guimaras Island that can be exported. The rest of the mangoes, like for example, mangoes from Cebu, if it's just from Cebu, it has to be for a local consumption. But everything that will have to be exported need to come from Guimaras. Guimaras is an island very near Cebu, And see in Guimaras, they try to control even the pollution. The rest of the cars, even the automobile, would have to be controlled so that there will be less of these automobile emissions in order to pollute the air. So technically, the Guimaras mangoes, they are really for export. Next, Lourdes Cruz. Lourdes Cruz is notable for her research on sea snail venom. Fabian Dairit, on the other hand, Fabian Dairit is known for his research on herbal medicine. In fact, he made a extensive study on some of the medicinal plant of the country, present in the country. Dairit is a chemist by profession. And yes, Fabian Dairit made most of his research would be geared towards the study of all these medicinal plant that you can find in the country. Rafael Guerrero III, on the other hand, would be known for his research on tilapia culture. In fact, Rafael Guerrero III not came up with so-called the breeding of tilapia. And now, see, remember tilapia before would just be a very small one, but now you can have a giant tilapia, a big tilapia, maybe as big as the big bangus. And yeah, tilapia would be it's very easy to propagate. Another man of science, Enrique Austria. Enrique Austria Jr. So he's notable for his invention on the meconium drug testing. Meconium drug testing, see, meconium, this would be for infants. No? For those infants, so once the infant, during the delivery of the infant, if there are no problems, so the infant will just be delivered. But again, if there is a prolonged labor, the tendency would be the infant, once delivered, would be meconium stain. Meconium would be fecal material, meaning because of the prolonged labor, infant, the baby inside, or the infant inside, will, because of the stress, would eventually release the rest of the fecal material. And see that a meconium stained baby during delivery would be more prone to infection than the so-called the usual normal delivery process where there is really no release of meconium. Now, such meconium drug test can also determine the presence of certain drugs, specifically your so-called abuse drugs, on so-called the infant. So this would be true. So in cases wherein the mother would be a drug user, in order to check whether the baby would have this, they can always go for they can always test the fecal material of the baby. Okay. Another will be Lilian Formalejo Paten. Lilian Paten is known for his research on plant biotechnology. I think Lilian Paten is one of the researcher in UP Los Baños. Now, Gregory Tangonan. Gregory Tangonan, he was famous for his research in the field of communication technology. Gregory Tangonan, he came up with the so-called analog antenna for communications. And though Gregory Tangonan grew up in the States or did his further studies in the States, he recognized himself as a Filipino, and that his invention, he recognized it as a Filipino invention in the field of communication technology. So next is Cesar Saloma. Cesar Saloma is an internationally renowned physicist. And I think his study is about magnetic resonance. He helped in the so-called development of the magnetic resonance. So Edgardo Gomez, another would be Edgardo Gomez. Edgardo Gomez is famous in the so-called marine science. In fact, Edgardo Gomez was the first to, his study would be more on the so-called the coral reef. Edgardo Gomez was the first to alarm to tell the rest of the world that the certain things that the Chinese are doing in the West Philippine Sea, especially the reclamation works of the Chinese at West Philippine Sea, would really destroy the coral reef present in that area. Angel Alcala, on the other hand, would also be notable for his work in marine science. If I remember it right, Alcala would be became a DOST head, and his work is also mostly on the propagation of fishes, propagation of certain marine life. Angel Alcala. Okay, so actually, I think that's my last slide. Okay, so again, thank you for listening.